Something happened to me on a dark night in 1976. It was December 19th, a day that would change my life forever. It was the day I died. You were dead for 19 minutes. When I came back, I did not come back the same. How do you feel? I did not come back alone. What seemed like days passed in 19 minutes. And over the course of the next few years, I began to remember the greatest mysteries revealed to me. Anything is possible. I discovered a secret beyond any secret. The sum of all secrets.
My eyes have seen the sun.
You have seen nothing.
It's out there. I will find it.
You will find nothing. It's like Solomon's gold. It was the key to Solomon's wisdom. The secrets of the Knights Templar and of the Freemasons.
He must be stopped.
Courage, my dear boy. Be strong, be brave. I challenged myself to find out everything I could. I found great teachers who knew this and began to seek them out.
اسأل أؤمن وأسمع. Ask, believe, and receive.
I traveled the world, and the meta secret was revealed.
Time has come.
I became a messenger to deliver all that was made known to me.
Hello there, I'm Bob Proctor. Meta is a nice word. It's a word most people don't understand. We talk about metaphysical, we'll say, oh, that's bad stuff. No, it's just what you can't see with these eyes. You got to see with an inner eye of understanding. Meta is beyond the physical. Do you know that 99% of our population has been programmed to let the outside world control the inside? If you want to get what you want, you let the inside world control the outside. That's what the meta secret's all about.
The meta secret to wealth and abundance is doing what you love, following your passion, enjoying your life, being grateful for this moment, realizing that in fact, you already have wealth and abundance. You have wealth and abundance to the level that you allow it in your life. Expand your level of openness, deservingness, and you can have more wealth and abundance right now.
How do you become more wealthy? You become more grateful. Studies here in the U.S. show that grateful people earn more money and are better at innovation. So the first step to becoming more wealthy is become more grateful. Find the good in your world right now, and you'll take a first step to become more wealthy.
The meta secret to wealth is knowing exactly what you want and then being willing to pay the price to get it. Most people think that wealth just comes out of having this impression in your mind that you're going to live an abundant life. And that's an important piece of it, but it's incomplete. If you look at the word attraction in the law of attraction, the last 6 letters spell action, A-C-T-I-O-N. One of my favorite words is satisfaction. We all want to have satisfaction. And again, in Latin, satis means enough. enough action, satisfaction, enough action produces the result. You know, I've been very, very successful with the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, and everyone thinks, oh man, you were lucky, you had this great idea. And we use the law of attraction. We visualize and we put up posters around our office that simulated bestseller lists with our name #1. We visualize bookstore windows full of Chicken Soup for the Soul books, all of which came true. But there's a asking and a believing and a receiving, the 3 steps that I think of in the law of attraction. And the second part of believing is taking action. Because if you believe that your action is going to pay off, you'll take the action. So believing doesn't just mean like sitting there going, I believe I can be wealthy. It means doing the things that produce wealth.
The key to abundance is to act in spite of fear, act in spite of doubt, act in spite of worry, act in spite of inconvenience, act in spite of uncertainty, act in spite of anything.
If we're talking about metaphysical, we're talking about beyond the physical. So what we've got to do is go inside. We have been programmed to live from the outside in. We're letting what's going on outside of us control what's going on inside. If we're going to get into the meta side of our own personality, we've got to get away from this physical instrument we've got and move into the higher side of our own personality. And start to understand that we live simultaneously on 3 planes of understanding. And we work from a higher to a lower potential. If you're working with electricity, any electrician, any engineer will tell you that you have to work from a higher to a lower potential. If you go contrary to that, you're not going to get any use out of the electricity. Well, when you're working with the mind, you don't start with the physical and work up. You start with thought and work down. Thoughts are of a spiritual nature. Spirit's omnipresent. Where's thought? Thought's omnipresent. 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. I can be underwater and think. I can be in an airplane and think. I've had the pleasure of working with a couple of the astronauts that have been on the other side of the moon, and they could think. Not only could they think on the other side of the moon, they could transfer their thoughts to somebody here on Earth. It's just a form of telepathic communication.
You know, it's been said that if you build it, they will come. I think if you build it, and you build something with true excellence, and you distinguish it in the marketplace, and you come up with a selling proposition, and you are aggressive in your marketing to the world, it's possible that people will come, but it's not inevitable that they will come. And sitting around passively visualizing things is not likely to get the world beating a path to your door.
My meta secret about wealth ultimately is you've got to create a lot of value for a lot of people. And if you do that, you will bring a lot of wealth back to you. So by giving service and giving that which helps other people improve their lives, brings joy to them, brings service and products to them, if you do that and you keep expanding that, always be thinking about expanding your service to others. And if you do that, wealth is a foregone conclusion.
First thing, quit listening to what everyone else is telling you what to do. And start paying attention to what you want to do. You see, I can look back with my memory, and I can remember going and saying, Mom, Dad, or to the teacher, I want to do so-and-so. And they'd say, now, how are you going to do that? See, what they didn't understand is I didn't know how to do it. But neither does anyone know how to do the things they want to do when they first think of it. You don't have to know how. You know, 2 young bicycle mechanics from Dayton, Ohio, in the United States of America, introduced us to a new kingdom. They were the first ones to fly in airplanes. The whole world believed that you couldn't do that. Anything heavier than air is attracted towards the center of the world. You can't fly. But they wanted to, and so they did.
Well, clarity to me is a very different concept than I think a lot of people. The first thing I want to know is, what do you think you're trying to accomplish? The next thing I want to know is, why are you trying to accomplish it? The next thing I want to know is, if you accomplish it, what do you really think is going to happen in your life? A lot of people come to me and they say, I want to grow my business, because I work a lot in the business world, the entrepreneurial world. I teach a concept, achievement concept, a concept that is predicated on taking action and implementing, called optimization. Optimization is getting the highest and the best use and result and outcome of your time, your efforts, your emotion, your life, your relationships. But you can't begin, and this is where a lot of people, I think, really fall down. You can't begin to optimize until you take the time to observe, examine, and identify not all, but the scope of options and alternatives and other possibilities available to you, number one, to achieve the goal, and number two, as an alternative goal.
Clarity is power. Just by being clear, you will automatically begin to magnetize things to you, to your life.
The law of mentalism is about the mind. Everything that we have ever created, everything that has ever existed, existed first in the mind. All thoughts are the beginning of all things real. All things that you can touch and feel began in the mind.
So if you want to be wealthy, you've got to decide what wealth is to you. Define it. What does it mean? How much money do you have to have? For me, financial independence meant having $30 million producing income, which allows me the lifestyle I want without having to work. And so I've achieved that. But I knew exactly what I wanted because I looked at what it would cost me to live my lifestyle. Most people don't know their net worth. They don't know their income levels of what would be required to produce what they want. They say they want to own a yacht, but they don't know what a yacht costs. They don't know what it costs for the slippage fee. They don't know what it costs to maintain a yacht. So go out and create your ideal lifestyle and then figure out exactly what it would cost to live it, and then set that number as the number you want to achieve. Then believe you can achieve it. Visualize it every single day. Take action when the action comes. Ask for what you want. Reject rejection. Give up any idea of failure. Just persevere until you continue on, until you produce the result you want.
The law of attraction's a good starting point for thinking about how to improve your life. You want to align your thoughts and your beliefs with what you want your life to be. But the law of attraction itself, by itself, won't allow you to achieve the abundance that you need. There are certain steps that you need to take, and these steps are all incorporated in what we call the meta secret. And the meta secret isn't one solitary method or one solitary system. The meta secret is a combination of tools, methodologies, and ways to understand the world and ways to understand how we can change the world.
Until I started looking at who I was and who I wanted to become, nothing changed. Because every time I would look and I would blame something else or blame somebody else or just look in a different direction that was not inside, I would get more of what I was creating. Because every time I created something, people would react to that. Every time I took an action that was blaming this or blaming that, people would react to that. And you know what? Then I would react to their reactions. And I was creating an environment that was busy. Instead, an environment that supported wealth and abundance.
If you look around, there's nothing but the abundance everywhere that you see. You see the trees growing. You see businesses happening. This is wealth, this is prosperity, this is abundance. If it's not happening for you, it's because unconsciously you have beliefs, counter-intentions, negativity that actually blocks it from coming into your life. It's actually working the law of attraction all the time, but it's happening on an unconscious level. The abundance is there, the wealth is there, but if you don't feel it, if you're not expressing it, it's because inside of you, you may feel you don't deserve it. This is part of the unconscious work that has to be done in order for you to feel on a conscious, real, live, earth-level level what's happening with abundance and prosperity. Abundance, wealth is your natural birthright. If you're not feeling it, it's because of your unconscious beliefs.
The law of correspondence, simply stated, is as above, so below, as within, so without. The law of correspondence is simply attesting to the fact that we are human creatures, physically present, but we have minds and we have spirits. So we exist in more than just one plane. We might even be multidimensional beings with multidimensional thoughts, and there may be more to you than just meets the eye.
If you want to be wealthy on the outside, you first have to become wealthy on the inside. As above, so below. As within, so without. First, you have to become wealthy in your thoughts. Then you become wealthy in your outer expression of that. You have to have a wealthy attitude. You have to have a wealthy, abundant thought form about who you are and what's possible. And when you have that, it will start to manifest outside of you.
If a person wants to take a quantum leap rather than incremental steps, they have to begin by understanding that they can do that. There's a marvelous little book. It's called U Square. Now think of what that means. If you square a number, you multiply the number by the number, don't you? Well, when you square, you multiply your potential by your potential. It's astronomical. I mean, you just go off the board. The man that wrote the book, Price Pritchett, he said, when you're looking at a quantum leap, he says it looks ridiculous, utterly. But in retrospect, it looks like a natural thing to happen. It was without effort. It's with ease. And that's what quantum leaps are. What you're really doing is getting rid of limitations in your mind, and you're letting your mind just take off and build a great big idea. And you start before you're ready. You defy what the masses are controlled by. You've got to move into a space all of your own. Understand you're working with an infinite power that's omnipresent. It's with you all the time. It's closer than your breath. And you get in harmony with that and just release all thoughts of limitation and make up your mind you're going to take and just compound your effectiveness. That's essentially what I did. I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I didn't understand quantum leap, but I took my income from $4,000 a year to $175,000 in a year. And then it went over $1 million. And I had no understanding of what happened. Now understand this. I had been raised to believe that if you don't have a good formal education, that you'd never be able to do what I did. If you don't have experience, you can never do what I did. I had 2 months high school and I had a bad work record. But my income went from $4,000 to over $1 million a year. Now you can do that. And the first step is understanding that you can do it. Quit listening to people tell you you can't. And start to see yourself doing something really big. Write it out on a sheet of paper. Begin by saying, I am so happy and grateful now that I have turned my annual income to a monthly income.
It's not just about attracting things to you. It's about learning to trust what you're attracted to. You are naturally going to be attracted to certain kinds of people, to certain movies over other movies, to places you want to vacation versus other places, to workshops you want to take or books you want to read versus other books. Trust what you're attracted to. It will take you where you need to go, and it may not always make sense to you. I remember going to a seminar, and there was a woman teaching about how to triple your income in a year. And at that time, I was probably more like a hippie than I am the entrepreneur that I am today. And my wife, who was against making money at the time, thought it was evil when you should be in total service and all this. She said, I can't believe you're going to that workshop where they're going to teach you about how to make all this money. I thought you were more spiritual than that. I said, honey, I don't know why. I'm attracted to that workshop. I'm going to go there. So I sat down, the woman next to me, we started talking. It turned out she was a veterinarian. And it turns out that our cat had feline leukemia at the time. And I started talking to her about that, and she said, well, I'm the world's expert on feline leukemia. And I said, well, I've heard there's no cure for that. She said, no, there actually is a cure, and I can teach it to you. And so she called my veterinarian, told him what to do. My cat lived for many, many more years than the local vet thought it should. But see, I was trusting my attraction to go to that seminar, and it led me in a path that saved my cat's life, which was not where my conscious thinking was, but it was a very important goal to me to keep my cat alive. Those kind of things will start to happen.
Most people are uncertain about something. They're uncertain about their next step. Here's your message. Do it. Do it. Whatever you're uncertain about, do it. Take the step. You will learn so much more. You'll get so much further faster by actually getting in the game than doing it, than thinking about it forever. One of my sayings is, one step in the right direction is worth 100 years of thinking about it.
The law of correspondence, the law of mentalism, and the law of vibration all combine to help you understand that the notion of wealth is arbitrary. You're always wealthy in comparison to someone else. You choose a person to compare yourself with, or your wealth or your level of wealth with, and then you decide at that point to be happy with the situation or to be unhappy, and therefore change it. All of wealth is subjective. Understand this, and you understand that there's an ebb and a flow to your finances. The more comfortable you are with how you interact with the world, with the value you give in the world, with the service or the product that you give the world, then you begin to realize your place in the world. And by realizing this, you participate in the abundance that is all around you at every moment and at every time. It is all yours. From the beginning, it was yours. Until the end, it will always be yours.
The meta secret to relationships is to know that the universe is giving you love right now. When you give love to the universe, when you give love to another, you will receive love in turn. Love is the essence and nature of relationship.
Relationships are a two-way street. It's not just about taking and giving and receiving and getting what you want, but it's also about giving. I like to say that each person should take 100% responsibility for the quality of the relationship. Because if you take 50-50, whenever it's not working, it's going to be their 50%. So if you take 100% and act as if everything in the relationship, you're creating it, and when it isn't exactly what you want it to be, say, how am I creating that? Take that curiosity and use it as a tool. And when you get the answer like, oh, I'm not coming home on time, I'm not listening, I'm not doing this, then you have the opportunity to shift and do the thing that produces relationship. A friend of mine wrote a book called Making Relationships Work. And the idea is there is work in making the relationship work. So be willing to do the work. Give as much as you get. The more you give, the more will come back.
To have a better relationship with anyone in your life, first you begin by having a relationship with yourself. Treat yourself the way you would your very dearest friend. Love yourself regardless of all the crazy shenanigans you pull. Believe me, I do this every day. So if you want a better relationship with someone else, love yourself.
Relationships are part of what the universe is giving you as a gift. The first and most important relationship is the one with yourself. When you love yourself, you heal yourself. When you love yourself, you become a magnet that people want to hang around, and you begin to attract other people and new relationships. It's all based on love. It's all based on non-judgment. It's all based on total acceptance. The universe has a relationship with you right now, and the universe wants to give you more. Are you ready to accept it?
The concept that I can't live without you is a tragic statement to me. The idea that I need somebody else to complete my life, I need somebody else or my life's not worthwhile is a very sad statement, and I think someone needs to take a good look at themselves when they say that. When you start to think that thought, stop for a second and realize life is full of stuff, and sometimes stuff is potholes, and sometimes stuff is bridges are out ahead, and sometimes there's a detour in life. I heard somebody once say that sometimes the most beautiful scenes in life are the ones we observe on a detour. Have you ever gone on a detour and realized that your life wouldn't have been the same if you hadn't taken that twist or that turn in your life? Next time stuff happens, take a look. Maybe there's something better right around the corner.
The law of cause and effect tells us that there's no such thing as coincidences. Everything that happens in this world happens because of a reason. Someone, somewhere, created a cause. It may not be something you are aware of. It may not be something we can even begin to realize or see at this level. But at some level, someone, somewhere, or a group of people, or even us, may have created it. And so as a result, we see the effect. We see the effect around us. We see the effect everywhere on this planet.
Everyone asks me, Jay, how in the world can I have a better, a happier, a richer, a more joyous relationship? And it's very simple. First thing is you got to slow down enough to be externally focused. It's all about them. The more interested and externally focused you are on the other person, the more extraordinary their experience will be, and the more naturally they'll reciprocate it. The second, and you're watching me, and I've got a serious side, and you know that, but you got to get in touch with your childlike sense of curiosity, of innocence. The third is you got to be in the here and now, and that's so trite and said so often, but being in the here and now means connecting deeply and being aware of what people are saying and looking at them and being responsive to their feedback and their mannerisms. And the last thing and the easy thing is to, again, as I said earlier, enjoy the process. We are so busy, so stressed in our life, trying to get from one thing to another, trying to multitask, that the greatest way to have wonderful relationships is to commit. Commit, not just the time, but your being, to being there, to connecting.
For me, the meta secret to relationships is to be the person you're looking for. Whatever it is you're out there looking for, be that and give it away. If you're looking for someone who's loving and kind and compassionate and generous, you need to be loving, kind, and compassionate and generous. Whatever it is you want, you've got to be that and express that out into the universe. And whatever you express out is going to come back multiplied.
The meta secret of relationships is for you to develop an identity that brings out the best in your partner and helping your partner to be the best that they can in order to bring out the best of who you are.
Criticism seems to be a big problem. If you are really secure in yourself and somebody criticizes you, it isn't going to bother you. Now, if you're insecure and somebody criticizes you, it's really going to bother you. You see, 9 out of 10 times, the person that's criticizing you really wants to help you. They just haven't really learned how to communicate effectively. But let's not let somebody else's criticism or their way of helping us shake us. If we're solid in our own self, and we really understand ourselves, then we can handle it and it won't be any problem. If criticism really rattles your chain or rattles your cage or really upsets you, it's not the criticism that upsets you. It's not the other person's opinion that upsets you. It's how you react to it. And you see, if you were really solid within yourself, you would respond to it. You would thank them for it and say, but I really don't choose to do that. Or you'd say, well, thank you, that's probably a good idea, I'll try it. But they're not going to knock you off track. So it goes back to have a good, sound self-image, a good image of yourself. Maxwell Maltz wrote a beautiful book on that way back around 1960 called Psycho-Cybernetics. Psyche-cybernetics. Cybernetic is the communication mechanism in our mind. It's the image that we hold of ourselves. It's like a life-governing device. Well, you've got an image of you just same as I have an image of me. And our image controls how we walk, how we talk, how we dress, how we meet and greet people. And it also controls how we handle criticism when it comes our way. And it will come your way, just same as it comes to me and everybody. We want to be solid in our own belief about who we are and what we are. Let's really get to know ourselves. And then, rather than react, let's respond. It doesn't matter how they approach, whether they're diplomatic and trying to help us or whether they're trying to find fault. It won't really make any difference. We will listen to what they have to say, listen to it, and then we'll either accept it or reject it, but it isn't going to affect the relationship with the other person one bit.
There is masculine and feminine in everything. Nothing is entirely masculine, nor is it entirely feminine. We have different aspects of yin and yang, of harshness and softness, different aspects of masculinity and femininity in everything. If you take a look at life and see it all as a combination, see how we are always living in combination, then you begin to realize and to also appreciate the law of gender.
Relationships are about communion, taking our life and making it sacred through connection with another human being. So communion and making sacred is what relationship is all about.
You know, there's a lot of lonely people around. And if you're lonely, I'm going to let you in on a secret. You're always going to be lonely until you become friends with yourself. If you're looking for company outside of yourself, you're looking in the wrong place. You want to go inside. And when you get to really look at you, you're going to feel so good about you. You're going to love yourself. Now, you see, as a little kid, you were probably taught, don't love yourself, that's conceit. I know I was, and most of the people I know. That's not conceit. That's a healthy, conscious awareness of who we really are. I'm not talking about an ego trip. I'm talking about really becoming acquainted with yourself. You've got to build a good relationship with you, or you're always going to be lonely.
When you get angry, look at it as, okay, this is a gift. I need to release something here. And in that process, relationship becomes a school for growth instead of just like it's someone that's going to please me. Look at how can I serve them and how can I learn from them, as opposed to how can I manipulate them to give me all my needs met. If you do that, you're going to end up with a much better relationship.
If you're in a relationship where you're not experiencing full love, the way to change it is not by changing the other person. It's by changing yourself. You look within yourself and you start to feel grateful for everything about you. As you change your relationship with yourself, magically, the outside relationship will change as well. You will suddenly see it transformed. You will suddenly see that there's love in that relationship with that other person. But you don't change the other person. You change you.
A lot of people spend valuable time in their life focusing on the past. I could probably spoil your week if I reviewed the first 26 years of my life. My life was a mess. And you know, at the end of 26 years, imagine living for 26 years and looking at yourself, you're unhappy, sick, and broke. I had a guy look at me and he told me I was one of the most miserable people he had ever met. And he was right. I was plain miserable. He said, you're always sick. I didn't have a terminal illness or anything, but I was always backache, headache or something, and I was always broke. He said, why don't you change it? Well, as long as I kept focusing on what led me to this point, which was a bad trip, I was going to create more of the same. And he said, let it go. Forgive it.
If you're looking for love and not finding it, it's no doubt because of a lack of forgiveness in some area of your life. This is true for all of us. You want to look in your life, look at your past, look at all of your relationships, and ask yourself, where have I not forgiven? Myself, my parents, my siblings, my neighbors, my relatives, my business partners, where have I not forgiven? When you go and forgive, you release the energy that allows the law of attraction to bring new love and new relationships into your life. How do you do this? You look and ask yourself, where have I not forgiven somebody? Somebody's going to come to mind. It could be you. The second thing you do is say, can I forgive them? Can I forgive myself? Whether you say yes or no, you move to the third part of this, and you start to wonder, what made that person act the way they did at that point? What made me act the way I did at that one point? And you start to go deep into understanding the psychology of behavior, and you realize we're all doing the best we can, yourself included. At that point, when you can forgive yourself and you can forgive these other people, whoever it might be, for whatever may have occurred, when you forgive them, you release all of the energy that's been stuck psychically within your own mind and your body and your soul. And when that releases into the universe now has an open pathway to return to you new love, new relationships, new blessings. It all begins with forgiveness, and you can do that right now.
When we talk about love, we're talking about the greatest word in the world. Leadership is a great word, but no word compares with love, because without love, you're dead. There's life in love. There's forgiveness in love. There's really everything. There's thankfulness in love. Now, the problem is learning where do we start, because we find sometimes in families there's no love. In marriages, there's no love. But we quit looking around. If we start learning, it begins with me. And when we start learning, we're not too loving ourselves. And it begins with your learning. To me, you could say you're loving, but unfortunately, you love people you like. Love has to be unconditional, loving those you don't like. Now, in my case, when my wife married me, she said she loved me. I told her I loved her. But as soon as we got married, I would say, I love you. She said, well, why don't you act like it? I say, I do act like it. She says, you have a funny way of showing it. I say, well, I love you enough to die for you. She says, try living a little. And so I discovered, as loving as I was, I didn't fit her definition.
The law of gender, the law of vibration, and the law of rhythm. All of these figure in relationships. You see, love is a dynamic. Any relationship is a dynamic. When you are actively relating, that's when it's alive. That's when it's fun. When you sit back and you start to look at the relationship, then it becomes static. It becomes a relationship to be assessed, to be looked at. But when you're relating to your partner or your spouse, amazing things happen. It's dynamic, it's moving, it's alive. And that's what all love is supposed to be, alive, and so much more fun. Changes happen all the time. We change. Human beings change. You change, I change, we all change. But if you can change together in the same direction, amazing miracles take place. Words, feelings, thoughts are all aligned. And all of a sudden, you can take on any problem and it's not an issue. That's what relationships are all about. That's what relating is all about. That's what love is all about.